It's likely you've heard the Rakes of Mallow before. It's a very popular Irish song and polka, with a great story behind it. In this video, we're going to take a step back in time to Mallow, County Cork in the 1700s. And we're going to try and put ourselves in the shoes of one of those rakes. What is a rake? That's just one of the questions we're going to be answering today with the help of a great man called Hank Wedel, who had also written his own version of the song, which is an awesome blend of the melody itself with some rock and roll as well. If a TV show was going to be made about the life of some of these people that we're going to be talking about, I personally think that this song would be a perfect fit as a theme song for it. Because hearing what they got up to as well, I would definitely watch it too. The song itself is about the Cray family, who came from Doneraile just 11 kilometers away. That's about as long as 11,500 5-string banjos for our viewers who don't use the metric system. It was published around 1742 in London and later in Scotland during the 1980s. It's even made its way as far east as India by the Carnatic music composer Muthuswami Dikshitar in the 18th or 19th century with Sanskrit lyrics as a prayer to the goddess Meenakshi. I have a link down in the description as well, so you can have a listen to that if you want. I had absolutely no idea of this too. I personally found that very interesting. Hank himself, though, has a much better take on the whole thing. So before we get talking to him, please do me a huge favour and just check and see if you're subscribed, just so you don't miss any new videos. Please give this video a like as well, and feel free to comment below as you're watching the video. Continuing on with featuring some community creations, we've got this one here which Hank sent on to me, which was painted onto a barron by Sheena Crowley from Cork, who's the daughter of the late Mick Crowley, who ran the famous Crowley's music shop in Cork City. The name of the illustration is Scrimplini, the supernatural lights that dance before our eyes. Sheena herself now runs Crowley's music shop. This as well is where Rory Gallagher bought his famous Stratocaster in the early 1960s. So if you're in and around the Cork City area, please do drop by. I have a link in the description for the shop as well. And as well as that, the best comment on the last video has to go to, honestly, one of the best people for commenting on Bradon Fasa. In the past as well, there has been some legendary comments there. But this one basically summing it up perfectly about the Wild Rover not being 100% an Irish-bred song. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. It's all the song of the people. And throw in a few drinks in there with a sing-song, and everyone will be having a blast, no matter where you're from. And thanks again to everyone commenting on the videos. I really do love hearing from you all. With Christmas just around the corner as well, I want to have a little bit of fun with this video, okay? So if you are subscribed to the channel and comment down below, tell me where you first heard the song The Rakes of Mallow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose one subscriber comment at random to get a free item from the Inside Irish Music Shop. So check out the shop as well to familiarise yourself with the stuff there. I will announce the winner around Christmas time thereabouts, either in a video or on a channel post, but probably both. Rest assured though, I will announce it, so please keep your eyes peeled. And more importantly, keep those comments coming, and also feel free to send in any of your creations to me, and we'll chat about it in the video like this. But anyway, without further ado, let's have a chat with Hank about the Rakes of Mallow. So Hank, what drew you to the song the Rakes of Mallow in the first place?
My late mother was born in Mallow to parents from West Kerry, from the Onascall Inch Strand area. And in the 1930s, when my mother was born, her parents had moved to Mallow because a sugar factory had opened up there in 1934, I think. My mother came along in 1938. They, unlike a lot of other people in Ireland at the time, instead of going to the UK or the United States, my grandparents went to Mallow because there was an employment opportunity there. And they raised their family in Mallow. My mother, though, in 1958, went to New York City, where she met my father, my late father. Mallow was always, like I said to you before, in previous conversations, Mallow was like this mythical place when I was growing up in the States. But I was born in 1963. I was brought back to Ireland in 66 for a holiday, and in 71 with my mother. My father came in 71, and in 71 they decided that they would try and one day move back. And in 74, my mother had had enough of New York City, and decided we were all going to move back to Mallow. So I was 11 years old and we moved to Mallow. While I was growing up in the United States, my mother would lilt the tune like so many Irish mammies would lilt the tune. La 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 la. And it just got imprinted in my young brain as a thing. And then as I became more and more aware of the music of Ireland and just multimedia in general, I realized that the tune was quite ubiquitous. It was everywhere, mainly as a dance tune. And the thing about it was in the quiet, man. Symphony orchestras have done it, and every Cayley band that you might have heard would have played the tune along the way. And then I found out there were words, but the words were like a geography lesson of North Cork. It went Mallow, Tallow, Kappa, Quinn, Donna, Rail, and Charleville, breaking windows upside down, hooray for the Rakes of Mallow town. But the thing that got me always was breaking windows upside down. I was like, what's that about? And it was explained to me that Mallow was quite a party town in the 1740s, briefly, yeah. That's basically it. And I found out that there were other lyrics that were more specific to the time. And this is over years, decades, really, that this was in my brain. But initially, it was my mother being from Mallow and hearing the tune and becoming aware of its global popularity that drew me to it.
So we have a simple melody, which, look, along with some of the other simple tunes that a lot of people learn when they're young in Ireland, right? You mightn't really think much about it, especially if you're forced to learn tin whistle and all you want to do at the time is play football, right? But even one of the most simple Irish tunes has a cool story hidden behind it. And before talking to Hank, I really wasn't aware of it myself either. Let's paint a picture here, right? It's early 1990s. A kid has been handed a piece of paper with tin whistle notation on it titled The Rakes of Mallow. And you think, why is there a song about a rake? The innocent ignorance can just make you accept that it's just a name and not to bother asking more questions about it. It is what it is at the end of the day, right? Look, I did know it wasn't about the thing that you clean up leaves in your garden with, right? But the question was just stuck in my head. What was a rake? Or even, who were they? And here's a silly but absolutely, crucial question for those who don't already know. What is a rake? We're not talking about the thing that you might find in your garden, as you know, but what are rakes in the Rakes of Mallow?
To the best of my knowledge, a rake is a person so debauched that they'll be spending all eternity in hell raking coals. So that's one of the explanations that I've gathered about what a rake is, that you'd be so debauched that you'd be condemned to eternity raking coals in hell. And I think that's a description of a person that's sort of carefree, veering between sort of like carefree and careless. It's more affectionate these days. Your man's a bit of a rake, or your one's a bit of a rake. The one thing I find interesting about all this actually is that the original lyrics are by a guy called Ned Lycett, who we should really mention in this whole thing. He wrote both male and female lyrics, and it was an equal opportunity. And even in the song that I've produced, there's an echo of that. Well, there's an actual. We dealt with that. It has to do with the exuberance of youth, but in Mallow in particular, it had to do with something maybe, I don't want to say sinister, but it was hardcore. People would come to Mallow because Mallow was a tourist spot because of the warm water, the bats, and they would raise hell, almost on a nightly basis. This was maybe during the summers and that and all that. But they would cause trouble in the middle of the town, so much so that bay windows were built up the street from where the dust-ups would happen, so that people could sit out and watch the carry-on in the town. And funnily enough, actually, the layout of the town is not much different from what it was maybe in the 1750s, that type of thing. It's all there still. The thing about a rake as well is that it's there's not just the Rakes of Mallow, there's the Rakes of Limerick, there's a Rake's Progress. You'll find it in literature and other pieces of music as well, describing, I think, having to do with dance, really, the Rakes of Limerick, the Rakes of Mallow. They're both well-known tunes. The song by Ned Lycett, or the lyrics by Ned Lycett, talk about people having a really good time in the exuberance of youth. That's probably the best way to do it and say it. But that's on one side. The other side is people that were kind of like troublemakers too, that they were a trouble to themselves or they were trouble to their families. The other thing, as far as I can make out, is that a rake was usually well got. I don't know, does everyone understand that? But that's a phrase you hear in Ireland, they're well got. A rake was often someone of the, shall we say, upper classes, or had means to be like that, who had means to carry on in a certain sort of like reckless way. To be specific about the Rakes of Mallow, apparently the original Rakes were from the Cray family from Doneraile, that would come in, wreak havoc in the town with drinking and carrying on, and there'd be a lot of fighting and all that sort of stuff going on. Then, yeah, that's where the original Rakes were. They would come in from Doneraile. And Doneraile's mentioned in that geographical version of that I mentioned there earlier. Doneraile's about 10 miles outside of Mallow. They'd come in, they were known to wreak havoc. And the song was kind of based on their exploits, from what I can tell. I think, like so many other spa towns in Europe at the time, they were centers for great social activity, shall we say, good and bad. Lots of drinking, and it's in the original lyrics too. Claret drinking was a thing, drinking claret and all that sort of stuff.
So the Rakes of Mallow refers to the Cray family, who came from the nearby town of Doneraile in County Cork. A rake, which is short for rake hell, referred to a person, typically a wealthy man, who was notorious for a lifestyle of drinking, womanizing, reckless spending, and general hell-raising, as Hank mentioned. The lyrics of the song describe such a lifestyle. Bowing, belling, dancing, drinking, breaking windows, cursing, sinking, ever raking, never thinking, live the Rakes of Mallow. In trying to look up the Cray family, they were apparently an established gentry family in County Cork, with a branch that had settled in the Doneraile area, and it seemed that some younger or more boisterous members of the family gained a reputation for acting the gobshite, basically, at the Mallow Spa town, which at the time was a very popular resort in the 18th century. But I wanted to know a little bit more about Mallow around that time. Again, it's fascinating for me that Mallow would have been a popular destination to go to. Today you've got families going to Spain for their yearly holiday, right? Imagine trying something different, alright kids, guess where we're off to this year? Mallow! Is there a beach? Your kid asks you. No, but I bet there's a nice wee puddle for you to play in. Joking aside, Hank helped paint a proper picture of what it was like in Mallow at the time. So Mallow, as an Irish person myself, right, I never would have figured Mallow as a tourist destination at all. I've been in and around the Cork and Kerry area, and that area is just so much to see. It's beautiful. But it seems like, according to the song back in the 1700s, Mallow was the place to be if you want to have a bit of fun. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about, what you learned from other people or from researching the song yourself.
I think the song itself, the original song, by Ned Lycett, was a real window into a pre-famine Ireland that at that point, by the 1740s and 1750s, was very much part of the British Empire. The town became famous, say, Cheltenham and a couple other places on the continent for having these warm water baths. And it was a place that people came to. People like warm water baths. They're so you mightn't think that in pre-famine Ireland, but certainly it was. I read somewhere once that its popularity is what brought it down. It became so popular that it kind of ate itself. It destroyed itself, and it became too unruly and too debauched for people to deal with. And then, as we go further along in time and the famine comes along 100 years later, it seems to be something that was in history but was shrouded in sort of a mystery. It would seem to me that it was a pretty rockin' place, or so it would seem. From the song, I can, people only lived to be 30 or 40 years old back then. And because of that, they really rocked it up when they could, if they had their health and their strength about them. And people, just like they do now, just like people have always done. So I think eventually what happened is, I recall that in the 70s, when I was a teenager in Mallow, they got a festival called the Rakes of Mallow together, the Rakes of Mallow Dance Festival together. And I've been told by people, Ty Curtis, actually, one of the curators of the Mallow arts scene, he told me that some of the town elders weren't too pleased with calling the festival the Rakes of Mallow because of the implications of debauchery. This is in the 1970s. I thought it was fascinating that sort of guilt or shame or whatever you want to call it would reach from the 1740s to the 1970s. I thought that was fascinating. Not that there was a lot to be ashamed of. I think even if you look at the video that we produced, the costumes we went for were pretty dandy. People dressed up and they were dandies, that's the thing I think I was kind of looking for there, to try and recreate that sort of thing that was going on there, and then people having fun in taverns and stuff. That's true of almost every town on both the islands of Britain and Ireland.
So now you should have a good idea of who the Rakes were and what Mallow was like around the 1700s, pre-famine Ireland. To elevate that a bit more, we should take a look at a clip from Hank's version of the Rakes of Mallow, titled "We Are the Rakes of Mallow." You've heard us talking about it now, but the video, in all honesty, really brings things together. Even Declan Sinnott had a part to play in the production of the song, but we'll get more into that later in the video. But first, let's have a look at the clip.
Bowing, belling, dancing, drinking, breaking windows, rising, sinking, ever breaking, never thinking, live the Rakes of Mallow. Living short but merry lives, going where the devil drives, having sweethearts, never wives, live the Rakes of Mallow.
Cayley, bandits, bikers, malls, cutie pies and baby dolls, loads of room for one and all among the Rakes of Mallow.
Living rock, you're living, striving forever, dream of Mallow. You won't be a rolling stone, they'll all leave you feeling home. Not all roads will lead to Rome, make your way to Mallow. Still there is a town so sweet, where my love and I did meet. Hand in hand and down the street, we are the Rakes of Mallow. Mallow.
And can you tell us a little bit about the creative side of it, yeah? So was there any factors or people who helped shape the song to what it became?
Well, as we've mentioned before about the song, it was in my mind for a long time to do something with it because I was really taken with the lyrics that Ned Lysett had written. I thought, wow, this is quite an interesting thing. And prior to the shutdowns of 2020, I had the idea of going to some of the hip-hop kids in Mallow, getting it to them and see would they do something different with the idea. I couldn't go any further with that because of the shutdowns. And simultaneously, I started working with Declan. I said, look, I have this idea, I said. And he said, that's great. He said, if you're going to do it, you should do it like Thin Lizzy did it with Whiskey in the Jar. He reminisced about how, Thin Lizzy had done it and said they were going to do it. At the time, I guess in the early 70s, the Horselips were doing a lot of stuff like that. And there were other Irish bands that were taking sort of rock and roll values to Irish tunes. His idea was, you got to make it your own. It's got to be like nothing else that went before. And that's what led to it being somewhat personal to me. The opening verse and the last verse are sort of personal to me. We mixed them up with a modern version of the lyrics that Ned Lysett had written, basically. We turned it around and made it into something and gave it kind of a rock and roll edge to it. As you can tell, the guitars are pretty forward in the song.
I think this song is just class. The Rakes of Mallow itself is fairly catchy like anyway, because it's just so simple, it's easy to remember. And I won't lie, cooking dinner, driving to work, cleaning, I can't get the song out of my head recently especially. It's like it's being played in the room with me. But the song was just one thing. The video was on a whole other level. An absolute ton of effort went in by Hank and all involved in the song. So watching the video, and the video is great by the way, it features costumed 1750s dancers and multiple locations around the place. A ton of effort went into it. But what was the original idea for the video? And tell us a little bit about your experience doing it, and did anything stand out?
Well, I sought the advice of a fella from Mallow, a good friend of mine. He's an actor, Martin Lucy. He was in The Wind That Shakes the Barley. He had a part in that. And some of that was filmed in Mallow, by the way. And Martin and I talked about it. And I said, look, I'd really like to recreate the whole 1740s, 1750s vibe. And he said, well, you should go there to get the costumes and you should talk to this person to see about locations. And you should, so I have to give a lot of credit to Martin. I don't think it would have happened the way it happened, but for his advice. One of the things he told me was that out in Doneraile, there were two women in the Doneraile art troupe that are dancing in the video. There were two women, one of them dressed up, Catherine Murray dressed up. She dresses up as Queen Elizabeth I and sits in Doneraile Park and pretends that she's Elizabeth I. And she talks in a very archaic language, and she's like Queenie out of Blackadder. She sits there on summer days, and the tourists can talk to her. And then Marion Quirk, and Marion dresses up as Lady Freemason. The first female Freemason was from Doneraile. She happened to listen into a Freemason meeting that was happening in Doneraile, and rather than execute her, they made her a Freemason. And it's quite a story within Freemasonry and in Doneraile. So Marion dresses up as Lady Freemason, and she tells the story about it. And it's kind of a tourist attraction. But it really attracted me. I thought, wow, these people are serious about dressing up. And with their guidance, basically, we got it together. You can see us all in sort of period costumes. And my idea was, I don't know how well we pulled it off. I think we pulled it off pretty well, was that I was to be abducted either in a dream or literally I was to be abducted and brought back to the 1740s to hang out with all the rakes in and around Mallow at that time. And you can see that from the beginning. That was the idea, that I was to be abducted and brought back. And then I guess Clodagh was calling me, in her section, was calling me back to the present. And it was to be displayed like that, actually, yeah. So that was kind of the idea. So I had this hallucination or a dream that I was hanging out with all the rakes, and yeah, you can see that in the video, I'm sure.
You really have to give them credit. The video is pure class. It's fun to watch, and it really paints the picture well. And I think they nailed it all in all. But it gets even better as well, because they were also essentially dropping in on an ABBA tribute concert dressed up in costume. Was there a moment when doing the video, like doing the filming on location or something like that you thought, this is exactly what I want? Like, what was going through your head at the time?
Yes, there was a moment. We were filming in Mallow Castle grounds. There was a ABBA tribute concert happening. And we, as rakes, walked through the crowd while Declan and there was maybe someone else filming us as well. But when we got that footage where you can see me leading all the rakes like ghosts through and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And people were delighted to see it as well, because they were there for an ABBA tribute concert, but there we were walking around pretending to be ghosts, and they were all in the video as well. And I thought, wow, this is great. Like it just seemed to be, it was a beautiful sunny day, and there was still restrictions with the lockdown and all that sort of thing on. And it was like a thing that we were doing, not so much in defiance of it, but we were very much continuing to live our lives, shall we say. It was wonderful. It was a sunny day. And I thought, this is great. There was definitely that was one of the points I thought, wow, I can't believe that.
It wasn't all just done by himself, like we were saying, okay? Loads of people worked on it together. And next we're going to chat about who they were and what they put into the song. Because there was a bit of modernization that had to be done with the lyrics, which was very important. And it really helped connect the Mallow today with Mallow back then, which I think was done really well. I really wanted to know about what the collaboration was like, especially keeping in mind that this was all done throughout the pandemic. And how did the collaboration with Declan, Sinnott, Mary Green and Clodagh May come about?
Well, that's a three-pronged question, really. I know them all from different sets of circumstances. Declan's a little bit older than me. Mary Green's the same age as me, and Clodagh May is my niece, much younger than me, but they're all involved in music one way or the other. Declan is well known as a musician, guitar extraordinaire, producer extraordinaire, and he's worked with some incredible Irish folk acts that you and your audience know about already. People like Horselips, Moving Hearts, Mary Black, Christy Moore. He's worked with a lot of people, but he's been basically based in Cork for a lot of the past 40 years, I'll say. I started taking guitar lessons from Declan in 1985. When I was busking on the street, he had sort of shored up in Cork with his wife and family in the wake of Moving Hearts, shall we say, just before he kind of really got involved with Mary Black. And he was giving guitar lessons in Cork. The other guitarist in this band I had called Princess Street, a guy called Mick Garrity, and I used to go for lessons to him. And then subsequently, he would come and play with various rock bands in the city that I would have. Generally, what would happen with Declan, he'd come back from a tour with Mary Black, or this went on for a long time with Christy Moore, and he'd ring me up and say, "You playing tonight?" "Yeah." "Where you playing?" "Such and such a place." "Yeah." "Can I bring an amp?" "Yep." So like that, he would jump in and play whatever kind of rock and roll band I'd had, because he does like to rock. He's a phenomenal guitar player, and he does like to rock it out. And there's probably plenty of people watching this that know that about him as well. Yeah, and eventually that led to him producing a lot of stuff that I've done over the years. Not everything I've done, but he's been involved in production. We've worked on various things. He produced my band Princess Street, and he was also involved. I was also in a band with him called Small Town Talk, which happened between about 2008 and 2011. And Declan produced that as well as playing it. And we played gigs around the place as well. And he produced my last album as well, What Happens in Cork, where the Rakes of Mallow is as well. So that's Declan. Mary Green is the same generation as I am. She's involved with her husband and her daughter in a wonderful family folk trio called Green Shine. She's married to Noel Shine, who's from the County Clare. She's from the County Waterford, but they've been living in Cork for a long time. Mary and I have written together over the years. She and I have done gigs together over the years, but it was really doing this album over the past few years, working with Declan, that she's singing on this album big time. And when it came to writing, shall we say, the female verse of the Rakes of Mallow, she was involved in that. I said, "Mary, could you make something of this?" Because the language of the original song, as we've discussed, was pretty archaic. I was in touch with Mary Green, and I said, "Look, I'd like if you could sort of like rejig these lines, or think about what it would be like to sing these lines from the original by Ned Lysett in the 1750s. You'll notice, if you compare the lyrics that I sing as the song starts to rock up: bowing, belling, dancing, drinking, breaking windows, rising, sinking, ever raking, never thinking, live the Rakes of Mallow. That's pretty much a straight lift from what Ned Lysett wrote. And spending faster than it comes, money doesn't walk, it runs. That's Declan's line, actually. Declan wrote that. Bacchus' true begotten sons are the Rakes of Mallow. Now, Bacchus was the god of wine in Roman mythology. Like Dionysian, Bacchanalian. It has to do with the drinking of wine and the having of a good time. So Bacchus' true begotten sons is God. So that's all pretty archaic, and I managed to get that in there. Changed around a little bit, but when I said it to Mary, I sent these lyrics to Mary, and they go like this. The female-focused lyrics from around the 1740s, 1750s. Ye nymphs depressed with want of rest and with complexion sallow, don't waste your prime with chalk or lime, but drink the springs at Mallow. All you that are both thin and bare, with scarce an ounce of tallow, to make your flesh be plump and fresh, come drink the springs at Mallow. And Mary got back to me the next day. She said, "I can't sing that," she said. "No one's going to understand that," she said. And I knew what she meant, you know? And what she wrote was fantastic. Mary wrote, like, she really brought it up to date. Hey girls, if your life's a mess and you need to ease your stress, put on your party dress and meet the gang at Mallow. And Kaylee, bandits, bikers, malls, cutie pies and baby dolls. There's room for one and all among the Rakes of Mallow. And Mary took it further, you know, in what she wrote. Next day you don't feel so hot. Might have been that extra shot. These are all things that are happening when people go out drinking now. They've seen worse, or maybe not, among the Rakes of Mallow. You know, so she brought it right up to date, and it was decided to give it to Clodagh to sing, because Clodag's a little bit younger than us, and she got the whole idea pretty quick. So in terms of writing a song, it was the greatest fun, and also really exciting and interesting. Like when Mary came back, so there's no way you're going to be able to sing Even If It's Depressed with Want of Rest. That's not going to scan in this day and age. So what she wrote was really, really, really great. Claude May is my niece. She's the eldest daughter of my sister Maura. And she's not shy about coming forward and singing. She's a good big voice, and she's a great dancer. We decided she would be the girl to sing that verse in the Rakes of Mallow. We are the Rakes of Mallow. And it was great because I knew she could sing, but I didn't know if she had any recording experience. But she nailed it in about 2 takes. Declan was very, very happy with her. We're all very happy with her. And then at family gatherings and that, she was always very good to sing, and she has no problem fronting. So it was a natural choice, really.
The Rakes of Mallow, as we know, is usually played fairly quickly. It's clear that the song you put together had been slowed down to aid with singing and the likes of that. Did you face any challenges doing that, or did it make it easier?
We slowed it down. I don't know how conscious it was to slow it down, but it certainly became a thing. Well, if we're going to sing this, we're going to have to sing this in a way that's intelligible. So I think it needed to be slowed down. That's what happened with it. So instead of being sort of a fast sort of Irish polka or something, well, the whole thing about slowing it down was to make it so that we could sing it and get all the words in and make them intelligible and tell the story that the song is telling. Usually when it's played, when you hear it, no matter who's doing it, it's at a fair clip. And it was just decided along the way that we wouldn't necessarily play the whole tune in the song, but we'd let the tune and the arrangement around the chords of the tune influence the singing of it. Because like if you, even the start off of it is once there was a town so sweet. That's the slowed down version of da 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 da. So we slowed it down so that we could sing the story around it. And it was kind of deemed that we wouldn't play the actual tune in it. Now, 2 things about that. There's a songwriter here based in Cork. His name is John Spillane, a great songwriter. I know John a long time. He's written songs for all kinds of people, Christy Moore in particular. And he has his own career going on as well, his own singing career. He said, you slowed that song down, Hank, and made it possible to sing. And I was delighted to hear that because I really do respect him as a songwriter. He's written a couple of songs about Mallow as well, which are worth looking up. He wrote a song called Lover's Leap. And anyone that's watching this should look up Lover's Leap by John Spillane. That's another story. Maybe you can get in touch with John and talk to him about his song. There you go, John. In any case, it was decided that we wouldn't play the actual tune in it, that we'd just let the tune inspire what we were going to sing, the melody of what we were going to sing. But now, when I play live with the band, Sean Long, the guy who plays the guitar in the band I have now, band I call Down in the City, named after the Sonny Condell song. Sean actually does play the melody when we play live, and it's a lot of fun. So that when you're playing something live, it's different from doing the recording, as you know.
So I wanted to know also just a little bit more about Hank to understand the production behind the song We Are the Rakes of Mallow. Who were his musical influences? What was it like growing up in the United States and County Cork? Understanding this for me really helped to connect the dots as to, why his version of the Rakes of Mallow sounds the way it does. And do you want to tell us a little bit about your musical influences over the years? You grew up between the United States and Ireland, so the music scenes would surely be different. That must have shaped you as a musician, and in turn, your version of the Rakes of Mallow. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Having been born in the United States and then grew up there till I was 11, also having the roots in Ireland, specifically for me, what happened was when I was very young, I got turned on to the Beatles and Bob Dylan. That's standard enough for a lot of people. When I came to Mallow in 1971, I was 8 years old. We were just on a family holiday at that time. In 1971, I remember my mother and father went to see the Dubliners play in Cork while we were there. And there was music. It seems in the distant mist of time, there was music almost every night. Sing-songs, people playing guitars, fiddles, mandolins. And this was all around me. And I was determined then when I came back from Ireland in 71 that I would get guitar lessons. And I started getting guitar lessons when I was 9 years old in 1972 in New York. And then when we moved back here in 74 permanently, again, just there was music everywhere, all kinds of music, Irish traditional music. And I also became very aware of the Irish rock and roll scene. I like to say sometimes, instead of getting the Ramones and Aerosmith, I got the Undertones and Thin Lizzy. When I moved here in 74, If I'd stayed in New York, I would have got the Ramones and Aerosmith. But when I came to Mallow, I ended up getting the Undertones and Thin Lizzy and Rory Gallagher. Truth be told, I'm more of a rock and roller than anything else, but I do, since I've made a life in music, I understand the connection between American, say, bluegrass and folk tradition and songwriting and Irish traditional music and songwriting. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, a guy called Ricky Lynch. He's a huge Bob Dylan fan, as am I. Bob's actually playing tonight in Killarney for the first time. I won't be going because I'm playing in Limerick. But we were talking about, the effect of like the Clancy brothers had on Bob Dylan. That's something that always is fascinating to me. If you hear Liam Clancy talk about Bob, but he, it's all there. He's Bob was influenced by the Clancy brothers as much as he was influenced by Woody Guthrie or anything else, So I find that endlessly fascinating in terms of writing songs and creating.
And with thousands of gigs behind you, what moment might have stood out to you from all of that? One of, let's say, your most memorable live moments?
I think without a doubt, the most interesting thing that ever happened playing live was to be on a TV show in Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, singing a song I wrote about Maiden's Tower. The Maiden's Tower overlooks the Caspian Sea, and I wrote this song about it after being out there one year playing for St. Patrick's Day, and I was brought out the following year, and it's all on video to see. I'm sure you'll put the video in your description, and it's me singing this song called Maiden's Tower, and the chorus goes, "No one's ever taken Maiden's Tower. In all the wars out there in that region, no one has ever taken the Maiden's Tower, and they're very proud of it out there. And it's a pre-Islamic structure." Now, we're in Spinal Tap territory here. Actually, no one knows what they were doing. No, but it was a pre-Islamic structure, and it was a fortress. And it was fascinating, the story. And I just wrote this song about going out there and sort of imagining what it was like to be out there way back. Actually, of all my songs, I think that Maiden's Tower song is kind of related to We Are the Rakes of Mallow in terms of going back into history and trying to write something about it. But I ended up on a TV show, let me say, I pronounce the name properly now, singing this song, Maiden's Tower, with a Mugam singer. Mugam singer, for want of a better phrase, is like their Shanos, except it's pretty wild, right? It's the locals singing out there in that region, in that Persian region. Azerbaijan was once part of Persia, Iran, and all that sort of stuff. And it's a wild sort of singing, Mugam. And I ended up doing a duet with Gulyanag Mamadova. And you can see the video, and it's pretty wild. And it's all lights and whistles and stuff. And I'm there in a leather jacket and a bad haircut, and I'm singing this with her, and she's dancing, and she's just wailing over it. And while I was doing it, I was like, oh my goodness, whatever. Like that scene in the Rakes of Mallow, I'm in the middle of something here now that I've created, and it's pretty wild. So it was 2006, 2007. That's probably that definitely is one of the most, maybe the most memorable thing I've done in terms of just all of a sudden I've created this thing, and all of a sudden I'm on a TV show. I mean, the next day in downtown Baku, taxi driver's like, you were on television last night. No. So it was pretty wild like that.
So you're walking around Baku in Azerbaijan, and suddenly you're getting recognized by taxi drivers. There's definitely worse reasons to get recognised by taxi drivers. It could have been a rough night out in Mallow and a dodgy 3-in-1. For those that don't know, a 3-in-1 is what you can get from most Chinese takeaways in Ireland. They're absolutely gorgeous sometimes. Chips, curry and fried rice mixed together in a little tin tray. It's absolutely lovely, but sometimes it can go wrong after a rough night. I'm not talking from personal experience here as well. It was a friend that told me this. Anyway, this project to me really seemed to go well. But not only musically, but for the local area of Mallow as well. You got to think about it that way. It's showcasing the history of what everyday life would have been like for people back then. And as well as that, just like loads of other folk songs, it's a window into our past. So I had to ask Hank, would he be planning on working on other projects like this? I was genuinely curious to find out, and what this project or song also meant to him. And do you see this song as a wider series of songs, or was it a unique once-off thing?
I can't see myself picking another period of Irish history and writing a song about it, but that could change too. I could see myself working with some of the people to make another video or to do something artistically with them, but not specifically to write a song about another. I wouldn't pretend to know anything more about, unless I did some sort of research on that. But I think this is kind of a one-off But I would definitely work with the people artistically, again, in the studio, making a record, or the video. I met some really great people, especially from Doneraile and the dancers. And it was a wonderful opportunity for me to meet sort of the younger people in Mallow through Clodagh that were dancing in it. And just to sort of connect with the town like that again after all these years.
Given your base in Cork and your childhood connections to Mallow, what does this song mean to you personally?
To do the song was something that was on my mind for a very long time. Then with the events of the lockdown and working with Declan in between lockdowns, my mother passing, it just seemed to complete some sort of circle for me personally. You can see at some point in the video early on, there's a line that goes, now I look around the town, ghosts that can't be found. There's an image of my mother and my auntie as young women in Mallow. So I was glad to get that in there in the video. And then at the very end of the video, my wife and I make an appearance. It's sort of like, we met very young in Mallow. That's the last sort of scene in it, where she's coming out of a shop in Mallow, a real old-fashioned sweet shop, if you look at it. Keeps, it's called. It meant a lot personally for me to kind of pay tribute to the town. Like that's from the start to finish. I worked in the sugar factory. I worked in the beet factory. I pulled beet when I was a teenager in the fields around Mallow, and I worked in the sugar factory in Mallow as well. It's gone now, completely gone, like all the sugar factories. In many ways, I was able to pay tribute to the town I grew up in after I moved from New York, and I was able to pay tribute to my mother and my family life that's emanated from Mallow. So yeah, and I'm friends as well. I mean, you can see all those people that are in the video, if they're not related to me, they're my friends. And I had just as much fun as anybody in Mallow when I was a younger man. So yeah, definitely it means a lot to me to have done that, to have paid tribute like that to the town, because it just seemed to be like the words that got me, when I finally found the words, the full verses, the male verses and the female verses, I thought something's got to be done with this. So I managed to get it together.
You have to agree with me. Everyone involved in that project absolutely outdone themselves. I have a link added just right here where you can watch the full song, We Are the Rakes of Mallow. I'll also add a link in the description down below as well. Please listen to the song and let us know what you think about it in the comments. I can guarantee that you'll love it, and fair warning, it is catchy. As a musician myself who didn't really make it as a musician for various reasons, I had to ask Hank if he had any advice for anyone else in the same boat as him. If you're a musician and want to work on projects like this or just make music your life, he did have some excellent advice. For someone like myself, I'm a musician, I love Irish culture, but also to all the viewers watching, do you have any piece of advice for the musicians watching that can help them in their journey? As we all know, being a musician isn't easy, so is there anything you think would help?
The best advice I can give is to stay as close to the music as you possibly can. Not that it's easy, but if you can somehow structure your life where you're close to the music, it'll serve you well, and you have to serve the music as well. You have to serve the music and you have to stay close to it. And that's going to be different for everyone. It's going to be different for a jazz musician. It's going to be different for an Irish trad musician. It's going to be different for someone that's a singer-songwriter performer like myself. It's going to be different for someone that's a singer, an opera singer or whatever. But if you stay close to the music, it will serve you somehow. Then the other thing is that you're to serve the music well. You're to serve it in a sort of way to people, and you're also to serve it by maintaining a good relationship with it and doing the best you can to give the best performance you can. And everything kind of follows from that. Now, in no way is that easy, because you got to pay the rent. You've got to have relationships. You find yourself in all different sort of circumstances because of the choices you make in your life. But the main choice to make if you're going to be a musician is to somehow stay close to it and let it inform all your decisions. That doesn't make it easy for relationships. That doesn't make it easy for paying the rent, or for sometimes even looking after yourself. That's the only way I can describe it. I just watched a video there by a guy called Todd Snyder. He just passed away in America. He'd been something of a hero of mine. He was a quintessential American troubadour, and he was well beloved by people like John Prine, Jerry Jeff Walker, these singer-songwriters, and he was in that tradition. He passed away there recently, but I just saw a video where he was talking about being a troubadour, being being able to go from town to town, and just staying close to the songs and the music that he either had written himself or he discovered, and he let it all influence his life that way. I think that's what you have to do. It can kind of make it difficult for people to live with you, even if you're successful. And there's all permutations in between all that, in between all the different styles of music and that. But stay close to the music and find your audience somehow.
For me, right, and I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but I was doing music in college a good while back, and I had a voice in the back of my head that was constantly saying, music won't pay the bills when you're older. And I moved from music to sales, fun stuff. But I have to agree with Hank. Back then, I didn't get involved as much as I should have. I had awful social anxiety, which made me kind of skip out on a lot of things at the time and ultimately leave music to do with sales. Which is weird, right? Because social anxiety and sales doesn't really go hand in hand. But it was like trial by fire. For the last few years as well, I've been really trying to live close to the music without even knowing it. But it has made me feel a lot better about things. You know, I'm talking about it on YouTube. I'm teaching it to some of the locals in my area. I'm playing trad with some friends here too. And it has truly made a massive difference. It is like networking in a way. You know, you got to make those connections with people and just make music a big or even bigger part of your life. It is never easy, like Hank said, but it is a step in the right direction if that's what you want. And yeah, as well as that, remember, please like, comment and subscribe, especially if you want a chance to win one free item from the Inside Irish Music Shop. Comment below where you first heard the song The Rakes of Mallow. I will choose one subscriber's comment at random and announce the winner around Christmas time. I also want to give a shout out to our channel members. Here's your names up on screen now. Thanks a million as always for your support. I also want to give a warm welcome to Dave Roberts. I'm so glad to have you along for the journey here. If you'd like to join them, hit that join button or check out the links in the description down below for more information. And of course, a special thanks to Hank for reaching out to me. If you have a similar story you'd like to share, feel free to drop me an email or join the Discord channel and we can work on something together. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. It is very different to the other ones that I've done, but if you've enjoyed it, please let me know and I will be sure to do more like this more often. So anyway, that's it from me. I hope you're having a great day, no matter where you are in the world. Slán go fóill, cheers.